Hi, Charlene. I,
Hello.
oh, okay. You're not muted anymore. Yes.
Yes, I am here. Tech is working.
Yes. So I want to apologize to you right now. I know I look really dark right now, but I was just telling the audience that I am out of town right now. I'm actually visiting family,
Oh,
and
nice. Where are
yeah,
you?
I'm in Katy, Texas. I'm actually about an hour away from Gwen right now. Gwen lives in Houston. I
Oh,
live,
okay.
yeah, I live in DC, but I'm
I live
visiting.
in DC. Well, I live in Montgomery County, but
Oh, I live in PG County.
oh my gosh, look at that.
We need to
We'll
link
have to
up
get
when I get
together in
back.
person one day.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I'm sorry I'm a little dark right now, but that's what's going on right now.
No, you look
And
great.
oh, thank you. And Gwen had to take care of some things, so I will be conducting your interview today, but don't worry, we're gonna have a good time.
Perfect. I love having fun.
Awesome, awesome. So before we get started, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm Charlene. I am a young adult author. My second book just came out a couple of weeks ago. It's titled Streetlight People. My third book is coming out probably May 6th. It looks like that date is going to stick. And
Wonderful.
it's called It's You Every Time. Um, I've been writing pretty much my whole life. I know a lot of authors say that. But yeah, honestly, from the time I was maybe like 6 years old, I was writing what you could call books. And have just been really fortunate to be able to pursue that as a career path. So yeah, that's me.
So,
I can dive more into any of that, but that's a high level overview.
okay. So you writing has kind of been your first love, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think even before I really realized I was writing books, which I think is how I sort of know it's just a very inherent part of who I am.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, I'll tell you, I've books have been my first love since I was young. I did not decide to start writing my own books until I was 12. So the fact that you
Oh,
wanted
so you were a late bloomer.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, the fact that you wanted to write at 6 years old, that's actually pretty amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, like I said, it was sort of just what I was doing. I was just writing and eventually realized I was writing books, and then eventually realized I was writing books that other people said were good. And then I guess worked up the confidence to start putting my work out there a little bit more. And fortunately started seeing some validation from people who didn't have to be nice to me and didn't have to say that they liked it if they
That's when
didn't.
you know you made it. When people who
Yeah,
don't have
yeah,
to be nice to you are telling you good things about your work, that
yeah,
means that it's probably the truth. That's amazing.
exactly. Yeah, that was definitely my experience. When I was a junior in high school, I wrote a book that I ended up submitting to the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're like, or anybody, if anybody watching is unfamiliar, they are a national organization through Scholastic Books that basically awards the best art and writing that's happening at a high school level across the country. And I worked up the nerve to submit a book to that and ended up winning their National Novel Silver Award, which is still hard for me to say because it's a little bit of a tongue twister. But that was sort of my first big external validation. That I think that definitely sort of catapulted me towards the direction of trying to write professionally was getting that award from them. So
And how old
it's a
were you at
little full circle now because my third book is coming out with Scholastic. So it kind
that?
of all wrapped back around. But yeah.
How old were you at the time when you worked up the well, this is a double question. The
Okay.
first is how old were you when you worked up the courage? And then what helped you to finally say, I want to do it?
Yeah. I wrote the book when I was 16. I submitted it to the awards when I was 17. Um, and when you win, they sort of ship you off to New York and you get the award at Carnegie Hall and you meet all these authors and you meet other teens like you who are writing, and you start to realize, or at least for me, I started to realize like, oh, this is could be like a career. This could be a thing. Maybe I could write real books that, even more people would read and could be in a bookstore one day. And so that really, from there, I decided to minor in creative writing when I went off to college. Um, and started the process of looking for an agent. And yeah, I think I always wanted to have a healthy separation between writing and my career, like my life, because if I had to write in order to like survive, I was worried that I wouldn't have the same inspiration, or like my creativity would dry up and things like that. So I
Mm.
simultaneously pursued a career in marketing at that point along with writing books, and I think that really helped me for a long time because it helped show me and remind me that the world is a lot bigger than just publishing.
Right.
Um and now I'm fortunate to be in a situation where I am writing full time and doing some contract work on the side in marketing.
So you,
Um,
you're actually able to make this into somewhat of a career.
yeah, and it's cool because it's hard. And like, even sometimes if you can start to focus on it more as a career, a lot of people don't because of the way that publishing is, and it can be really unpredictable, and the way payments are made can
Right.
take a while and things like that.
Think
So,
that unfortunately, a lot of people come into the literary industry because they see on you watch these TV shows and these movies where somebody wrote one book and all
I
of a
know.
sudden they're filthy rich, they're on a New York Times bestseller list, and everything is amazing. And people go into the industry thinking that this is going to happen to them,
I
that they can
know.
write that one story that's just going to take off. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen for everybody.
Yeah.
And then when you try to kind of shape their thoughts or manage their expectations on coming into the industry, you almost sound like you're being gloom and doom, and you're not trying to be gloom and doom, but you want to let them know what the reality is
Yeah.
of getting into this industry.
Absolutely. I think there's even just like so many different paths to publishing, right? Like there's traditional publishing, which I think is what a lot of people sort of think of when they say that they want to write a book, which
Hmm.
is basically the model of like you get a literary agent, and then your agent sends your book off to editors, and then an editor makes you an offer, and then you're signed with one of the houses that you have probably heard of, like Penguin Random House or Scholastic or HarperCollins, things like that. But then there's also, indie publishing out there, and like the smaller publishing houses that tend to have a little bit of a different model. And then there's also self-publishing, which, is something that you sort of you fund yourself and you get your work out that way. And I think that, you know, my best advice for people that are looking to get into publishing is to really do the research, because there really are so many different ways to go about it,
Right.
and really think to yourself, like, what are your goals and what is it that you're looking for out of publishing? Because one person's path is not everybody's path, and there might be a different avenue that makes a lot more sense for you.
Right.
I think writing requires a lot of resilience. No matter which path you
Uh,
take, you're going to have to stick to it potentially for a while to start to feel like you're getting some traction or you're seeing some of the success that you're hoping to, but it's not just you. We're all doing that. And social media is just a highlight reel. So you only see the good stuff, but we are working very hard behind the scenes. And I know that goes for everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, and people often ask me, should I be self-published? Should you be self-published or traditionally published? And I often tell people it's really up to you and
Yeah.
what is it that you want out of this industry and what do you have time for? Um,
Hmm.
I've even seen people, all of those really pretty Instagram reels of people decorating their homes and making them look all pretty.
Hmm.
There was one person who came on and said, don't decorate your home based on what you think is pretty, based on decorate based on what's functional and what
Hmm.
you're going to be able to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really pretty to put all of these things up, but then when you try to maintain it, it gets junky. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the same thing goes for the literary industry. It's wonderful and it's dreamy to say you want to have a big traditional publisher and you want this huge contract and this huge um, advance.
Mm-hmm.
But then you realize that if they give you a $10,000 advance, which very rarely happens, but let's say they give you a $10,000 advance, that's not free money. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to get royalty payments until you pay that $10,000 back. And how do you pay that
Yeah.
$10,000 back? You've got to sell books. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're depending on the publishing company to do it all for you, you're not going to sell that 10,000 copies that you thought you were going to sell just because you had a big publisher. The other
Mm-hmm.
part is one of the main reasons why I'm no longer traditionally published is because I have a busy schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not going to make those deadlines that a traditional publisher is going to give me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to kind of do things at my pace. It doesn't mean that I don't want to sell a lot of books, and it doesn't mean that I'm not disciplined, but I'm disciplined to know what I can and cannot do at the time. And
Yeah.
so I think that for a lot of people, they have to realize that not every path is for every person, just
Mm-hmm.
like we were saying earlier.
Yeah, I completely hear that. And I think that the only thing I would add is there's a lot of people now, I won't say a lot, but there are definitely people now who are sort of simultaneously doing both. Like I know people who are self-publishing some of their books and who are also traditionally publishing some of those books. And it really depends on sort of a whole array of things. Like sometimes you have an idea that publishing at the end of the day, for better or worse, is a business, and they tend to buy into things that they recognize and that they believe that they can sell. And sometimes you have ideas like that, and traditional publishing is more excited and open to those. And sometimes you have an idea that feels a little bit off the beaten path and a little bit less traditional. And like I said, I know people who are using both self-pub and traditional pub as a means of just fully expressing their creativity,
Right.
as opposed to trying to make everything they do fit into sort of one mold.
Absolutely. Now, we could talk more about this for the rest of the time, but I
Yeah.
really want to jump into your book. So your book Street Like People was just released this month, correct?
Yes, just a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, it's my second book. It's my sophomore novel. Came out with Penguin Random House, and it is very twisty. It is a hard book to talk about without giving spoilers, and I am slowly getting better at it. But it's about a small town named Streetlight, that's pretty divided across socioeconomic lines.
Okay.
And our main character, Katie, sits on more of the working class side of things. And she goes to the Halloween carnival where she is sort of gifted the ability to control time. And she starts to sort of bend time and streetlight to her whim to try and make life look the way that she would like for it to. And as she ends up uncovering a lot of very dark secrets about where she's lived and realizes that nothing was ever quite what it seemed. So it's unreliable narration. It is twisty. It is a little bit eerie, very strong fall vibes for this time of year. So, yeah, it's out now wherever books are sold.
That's interesting. So would you say this is a fantasy novel?
I've heard it called on so I feel like your book is whatever other people say your book is. I think that's sort of what happens the second it gets out into the real world. Um, To me, I think my favorite classification for it so far is more like magical realism.
Mm,
Um, and it's very grounded. So we're very much like in this world, like generally these laws of physics, with the exception of her ability to sort of uh play with time. But I've heard people call it fantasy, people have called it sci-fi. Um,
speculative.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit just sort of uh, within the eye of the beholder. So,
Well, I think it's interesting that it's for me, and I write contemporary women's fiction.
hmm.
I I think that your style of fiction takes a certain talent
Oh,
because
thank
you
you.
are creating basically a world.
Hmm.
You know, when that us normal folks on the outside, we're when I write contemporary women's fiction, I'm writing about the world as it is right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're actually creating worlds with the types of stories that you write. So,
Yeah.
was this a challenge that you really set out to pursue?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because my debut is contemporary. Everything I ever wrote up until then, from 6 years old and on, was contemporary. And then I decided with my sophomore book, I had this idea that I want to try to execute. And I have consistently said ever since I had been writing that book,
Mhm.
that I have such respect for like fantasy authors because this book, Streetlight People, is very grounded. It's very much, basically our world with like a little bit of a twist. And that was hard to execute, like creating the new rules and sort of the magic rules and how it all was going to work was really difficult for me. So the people that are writing fantasy and creating truly like entirely new worlds and like beings and things like that, I just like hats off to them because for me, even doing like this little bit of magic in this story was extremely difficult for me. So I definitely do not consider myself to be a like anywhere close like a fantasy author, but I do try to execute stories that have things that I enjoy,
Mhm.
and little things that make you question the world, like that little sort of what if feeling that a book can give you is one of my favorite feelings. And that was what I was really trying to evoke with Streetlight People. So
Do you
yeah.
have a copy of the book with you?
Yeah, I do. It's actually not within reach. I'm looking at it though. It's like across.
I'll be back in
I
somewhere.
know. I need to be better at that. Everybody, I can turn my camera off for a second and get it if you want.
Okay, go ahead and get it. Well,
Okay, I'll be right back. I should be better at this by now, but I'll be right back.
okay. All right, so for everybody who's just joining us, I'm so sorry that I am kind of in the shadows today. But as I mentioned a little earlier, I am visiting family, so I don't have my light set up with me right now. But I didn't mean that I did not want to be a part of the show tonight. So I'm sorry you're not able to see me, but most of y'all have seen me before, so okay. It's okay.
You
So
look great,
okay.
I'm telling you.
Oh, thank you. Well,
This is the book.
yes. Oh, very nice.
Yeah. And
Did you
the
come up with
back.
did you come up with the concept yourself?
Penguin has been really great in terms of working with me with cover direction and has been really supportive of like ideas I've had and things like that. So I did get to have a pretty heavy input. Um, our cover artist, their name is Colin Verdi, incredible. Actually, is doing the covers of a lot of books right now. So if you happen to open a book, you might see their name in there as like the cover artist. But yeah, it actually looks it doesn't translate as well on screen, but it's very pretty up close. Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, from what I do see, it is still very pretty, and I like the fact that it reflects the title, Streetlight.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like I said, it's a very eerie, sort of weird small town energy thing. Like the whole time you sort of feel like something isn't right, and then by the end you discover why you've had that feeling. So, yeah.
Mm. So, how did you come up with this story? Because I'm just listening to it. It feels like that person who rock. It feels like Rockwell. I always feel like somebody's watching me. You might be a little young to know about Rockwell. You know about Rockwell?
I know the reference is like the song, It Always Feels Like Somebody's Watching Me, that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the song.
Well, you know,
Um,
that is Barry Gordy's son. You know, he only had that one hit.
Okay, I know all about Berry Gordy, so I'm back with you. But yeah, so I wanted to write, I would say like thematically at the core of the story, it's really a conversation about power and the power that we waste. Um, and I really wanted to create a story that I think about deja vu a lot and sort of like, what is it really? And you have sort of like the Matrix and things like that that tries to sort of explain it. And
Right.
this book does a little bit of that as well as sort of, maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's everything. Um, and so that those two things were sort of the core of where the ideas sort of grew from.
Got you.
And I wanted to do that in sort of the way that I would do it, which is I really like to create really compelling, believable, flawed characters.
I love a
Um,
good flawed character. I do not like characters that are too perfect.
yeah, nobody in this book is perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm really character motivated, and I also like to execute plots in a way that feel real to me in the
Okay.
sense that everything doesn't really get tied up like nice and neat in a bow at the end and this sort of like, and then they go off into the sunset. So, yeah, I think that even though it's very different from my debut, it has a lot of similarities in terms of like thematically what we're focused on. And I think the way that I execute it feels very on brand for me.
Gotcha. Well, now we do have a question for the audience. You know, every once in a while we like to do quizzes where people can come up with the answer and they can win a book. So we
Oh,
do a
okay.
question based on your book.
Okay.
So the question is, oh, and you, I think you gave the answer earlier, but that's okay. They don't know. The author, you, Charlene Thomas, grew up in which Maryland county? So the question is in the chat. The first person to answer the question will receive a book. Hi, Josh.
I feel like we need like Jeopardy music or something.
I know, right? They're gonna pop in there and let's see who comes up with the answer. But in the meantime, we're gonna keep on talking and we're
Yeah.
gonna see who comes up with the answer. But in the meantime, you have another book already planned for 2025.
Yes. Yes, I do. Feels very fast.
Have you
But
already started writing it? Because you're fast.
yeah, this was fast. I don't think I would do this again. I don't think I would have my debut came out in 2022. My sophomore book, Streetlight People, obviously came out in 2024. 2 years felt like the right amount of time between books to kind of, reground yourself, get another one out,
Yeah,
take a
you hear a
breath.
lot of people say they want to do one book a year, but
Yeah, that's a lot.
I
This
was
was
just
my
gonna say,
first
people
time
don't
experiencing
realize how
that.
hard it is to write one book a year.
It's really hard. Yeah. So this was my first time experiencing that. Um, and I love both of these stories. They're incredibly different. They're so different. But it was an amazing experience. So grateful to have had the opportunity to write both of them. But I don't think it's sustainable for me. I probably won't be a book a year type of author.
I'm not gonna. I will. And now I did say I was going to write something every year. So when I first got into the industry,
Yeah,
I had have written a book a year, but maybe I would contribute to an anthology or
yeah,
write type of a short story. But a full length novel once a year is very, very hard. And
absolutely. And with traditional publishing too, with the way their timelines work,
yes,
you
yeah,
know, it's a lot to keep up with. But no, it was great. It's coming out May 6th. It's called It's You Every Time. It's another young adult fiction. It is about a girl named Sydney who has been through her share of tough times, a lot of loss in her life over the past couple of years. And one day she happens to bump into a cute boy named Marcus when she stops in at Dunkin' Donuts when she
Once
should
you
be
get
on her way to school. And they end up having a very cute, sweet day together in New York City. And she is finally feeling like maybe she's reaching the good part, like she's finally gotten there.
Mhm.
And as the night is ending, there's something that might be like a car accident. She can't really tell what happens, but she sort of experiences like a ton of pain and then wakes up again in her bedroom the next morning, which happens to be the same morning that she thought she lived yesterday.
Wow.
And she is sort of suddenly trapped in this time loop, and it becomes this question of sort of how do you keep moving forward when the world has stopped spinning?
That
Um,
sounds super, super interesting. Now,
yeah,
when can we expect that book?
May 6th. Yeah.
Okay, May 6th is what we're looking at. But right now, don't wait until May 6th. We have a book right now, Streetlight People,
Yes,
that
there's
was just released 2 weeks ago.
yes. I don't mean to take all of your money. So for now, you can focus on this one.
There you go. Now, I will say that Gwendolyn Hayes got the answer correct. You are from Montgomery County.
That is where I am from.
All right, so congratulations, Gwendolyn. Woo!
I hope
So
you enjoy.
yes, Gwendolyn has won our contest before, so I think you know what to do. Just make sure you DM the National Book Festival Facebook page with your address so we can make sure to get your prize out to you. All right. So it is now 7:58, 8:58 where you are.
Yes,
Normally, normally
time flies.
where I am.
Yeah,
But no, I want to thank you for joining me tonight on Black Authors Matter TV. I'm sorry you didn't get to meet Gwen tonight, but I'm quite sure that you guys will connect soon.
yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast. Time flew by, so that's how you know you're having fun. But yeah, it was great. So thank you.
And thank you. I really appreciate you joining me, and I wish you all the best on your future endeavors. And congratulations once again on your new release.
Thank you so much. All right, well, you guys have fun, and yeah, I'll chat with you later.
All right, you take care. Bye
Okay, bye.
bye.